Do you remember your first turn-based JRPG? I know I do, because it's one that means a lot to me. My first JRPG was Final Fantasy III on the DS. It's a game I still think about almost 20 years after its release because it was unlike anything I had ever played up to that point in my life. It was not an easy game with its hours and hours of grinding and difficult bosses, but it made me into the person I am today, a person who is deeply in love with the JRPG genre. Thanks to Final Fantasy III, I have been playing JRPGs pretty much my entire life, from other Final Fantasies to Xenoblade, Mario and Luigi, Persona, Fire Emblem, Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Quest, Dark Cloud, Paper Mario, and some even more underrated titles like Resonance of Fate and Naruto Path of the Ninja. Look, if you know, you know. Needless to say, I've pretty much seen everything the genre has to offer. There's just something about them that I don't think can be replicated by other genres. These are games that require your time and patience as a player as they take you through dense narratives that define the entire experience. You meet a world's worth of interesting characters that tell you about their lives, their stories, and their dreams. You take to the battlefield to fight monsters and evildoers who would alter the way of life, not just for you, but for the entire world. These are games that, once you play them, you never really forget about them. They are profound experiences that stay with you your entire life because of the stories they tell and the characters you come to love. It's a type of game that doesn't feel as prevalent as it did in the early days of gaming, but it is far from dead. In fact, it feels like it's having a bit of a renaissance with games like Metaphor ReFantazio, Octopath Traveler, and the Like a Dragon franchise. The powerful effect of the JRPG is what today's video topic, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, understands really well. It's a game from a fresh-faced French studio called Sandfall Interactive that manages to understand what makes JRPGs so engaging, all while modernizing the formula in ways that don't dilute what makes JRPGs so special from a player perspective, by giving them an engaging world filled with great characters that slowly unravel over the course of 30 to 40 hours. Expedition 33 feels like a game that should have been made in 2008, not 2025, and I mean that in the best way possible. After my 2-hour preview with the game, I am convinced that it has all of the fixings of not just a great game, but something that can easily shape up to be an all-timer in the JRPG Hall of Fame. But before I get into why I think that is, if you like long-form analysis videos and reviews, consider giving me a like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel grow while giving me opportunities to cover games just like this in the future. Right out of the gate, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has you asking questions like, what the hell is a Clair Obscur? Who is Expedition 33? And thankfully, the game does a good job of getting you into the world and answering these questions pretty much immediately, while still leaving just enough to keep you going. The premise is simple. There is a giant monolith that has a number painted onto it by an entity known only as the Paintress. Every year, the Paintress ticks down the number on the monolith, erasing every one of the age that is no longer present, meaning if the Paintress is left to its own devices, humanity will simply cease to exist. You can't outlive the Paintress, no matter what, so the only means left for humanity are to kill her and end the cycle of death. Every year, humanity comes together to form an expedition to take her down. Yours is, of course, Expedition 33. The expedition sets sail, but is immediately fraught with mass casualties, leaving only a handful of survivors. How is Expedition 33 supposed to carry on now? Well, that's where you as the player start on your journey, at the literal bottom of Schitt's Creek with nothing but a handful of people with grit and determination. Immediately, it makes for an engaging setting and drama for characters to bounce off of. The world of Clair Obscur is one that is torn apart by phenomena that seemingly has no explanation. The Paintress, the walking automatons, and natural disasters that shape the world in unique ways. But for what reason? To stop the expeditions? Just because? And the characters react accordingly. Our lead for Expedition 33, Gustav, clearly hasn't had an easy time right out of the gate. He's surrounded by the corpses of people he once knew, so what chance does he and the few survivors of the accident have of even making it to the Paintress at all? Thankfully, he's not the only survivor, as Lune joins not long after, and the game does a great job of giving the party a sense of tension and development despite how little screen time I have seen of the two. There is history between Gustav and Luce, history that will no doubt be unpacked in the rest of the game. But what chemistry is in the demo is showcased brilliantly with fantastic writing that feels real and genuinely well acted.
No, we have a mission.
Oh, fuck the mission!
Fuck the mission, Lune! What are we gonna do, huh? Tell me. What are we gonna do? We're gonna take down the Paintress, just the three of us? My gun and your sparks?
I didn't take you for a coward.
I'm not a coward.
You swore the oath. When one falls, we continue.
Yes, I know.
When one falls. When one falls. Not if. When.
I want to see more of Gustav and Lune, as well as other members of Expedition 33. I want to see their chemistry. I want more party drama because it's so good. It's something that really helps to sell the hopelessness and feeling of the expedition. These are flawed characters, and that's what makes them great. I want to see what mysteries they all hold underneath the surface, as well as the mysteries they uncover in their journey to kill the Paintress. Now, whether or not the game will deliver on these mysteries is yet to be seen, but what is here is already really gripping for me as a player. I want more of the world and the characters, and that's a really good sign. The developers have me hooked because they know what makes a great JRPG party dynamic. It's the drama, it's the flaws, and actually, one of the things I noticed as I played was how similar a concept it was to Final Fantasy X. There are many parallels in terms of concept. The Paintress is a parallel to Sin, an otherworldly force that is seemingly unstoppable. The characters are on a pilgrimage to stop that massive threat, and along the way, we will learn more about the characters, their past, as well as their chemistry. And I love it. If you're gonna learn from the masters, there are way worse options than Final Fantasy X. Clair Obscur doesn't just take story influence from Final Fantasy X, it becomes quickly apparent it holds many parallels to X's combat as well, which, again, is not a bad thing, because X's combat is top of class. Thankfully, it isn't just a copy-paste of what we see in X. I would say it functions more as a best of hits over the past 20 years of JRPGs. The things I noticed right out of the gate was the turn order, bespoke character kits, and the limit of 3 playable characters in a party at once. Like Final Fantasy X, each character comes with their own unique set of skills to use, which makes each one play very uniquely in their own right. But unlike Final Fantasy X, it didn't require character swapping on the fly to deal with certain monster types that could only efficiently be dealt with by a singular character. Instead, Expedition 33 relies more on unique mechanics that help characters perform better in combat generally. For example, Gustav is your starting character in the game, and his kit revolves around performing actions to raise his overcharge ability. It starts at 0 points in each encounter, and your goal is to get it up to a cap of 10 points. With every hit, dodge, and parry he performs, it raises the counter by 1. Ideally, you want him to hit and dodge as often as possible to increase his overcharge bar, letting him deal an absurd amount of damage all at once. Your second character is Lune, who is a witch-type caster, kind of like a black mage. Her unique mechanic is the stain palette. There are multiple colors of stains she can create from her elemental spells that can be consumed in order to power up other spells. For example, her ice spell generates a blue stain. That blue stain can then be spent to power up her fire attack, giving it more damage. I'll keep the explanation of character kits at that, but the way characters work in this game instantly puts it a step above the usual JRPG combat fare for me because of the microgame associated with each character. It's not just going through the motions, but always making decisions based on the character's unique resource, their available AP, and the turn order I'm given. It's a dynamic system that makes each encounter feel unique. It also helps that there aren't a lot of encounters in the game to begin with because the XP rate is so rewarding. This could change later on in the experience, but during the preview, it felt like I was leveling up after every third encounter or so, which feels awesome. The game gave me a lot of leeway in how I wanted to dump stats into my character based on personal preference, meaning I could make Gustav a fast attacker, giving him more opportunities to hit or play a support role in combat, whereas Lune could be a sort of glass cannon with huge damage and crit potential. And if that's not how you want to play, you are given a resource that lets you respec a character at any time to better match the build you need. Now, the final piece of Buildcraft tying everything together is the addition of Pictos and Lumina, a system very similar to how gear works in Final Fantasy IX. A Picto is a passive ability that a character can equip that will change some aspects of their abilities and give them a boost to some stats. Every character is able to equip 3 Pictos at once with no limitations. Once a Picto has gained enough XP, it is now available as a Lumina for every character in the party to equip by using their available pool pool of Lumina points. As you play, you'll find Pictos of varying costs. Some are lower and others are higher based on their potency in combat, so you can pick and choose a combination of equipable Pictos and the Luminas a character might need to better emphasize parts of their equipped skills and stat points. It's insane how much potential the developers are giving the player here, and I'm sure that once the final game is out, we will see some absolutely absurd builds take shape with everything on offer. And I'm sure as you've been watching the combat, you might have noticed that there isn't really a mana system here. Instead, the game opts for an ability point system as a way to use skills and a ranged weapon. There are only a few ways to gain AP, but there are more ways to spend it, which makes it a very valuable resource during combat. You can gain AP by performing a melee attack, doing a parry, or by spending a limited item resource that allows you to give any one character 3 points. And you are going to need that AP because there are 2 ways to spend it. One way is to use a character's ranged attack, letting you target weak points on a monster and to attack airborne monsters who can only reliably be damaged by ranged attacks. Every shot ticks down the AP by 1, so you have to make the choice between using it for dealing with airborne enemies or using it for your skills, which are the other massive AP sink. Every ability has its own AP cost. More powerful skills are, of course, offset by the larger amount of AP required to cast them. It's a system that reminded me of the Bravely Default system from, well, Bravely Default. In Bravely Default, you have a resource called Brave that you can earn and spend to perform multiple actions in one turn, allowing you to heal more often or deal more damage. During your turn, you can choose to either Default, which is a block that gives your character a Brave charge, or you can Brave, which allows you to spend the Brave charges you got by defaulting, allowing a character to perform multiple actions. Much like the AP system here, there is a maximum amount of Brave you can have, so it's up to the player to manage that resource carefully during combat to swing it into their favor. Both systems are about the delicate push and pull of combat, requiring the player to strategize and plan ahead their combos for each character, setting up massive payoffs that can only be achieved by the whole team working together. Get too greedy with one character, and the rest of the team might flounder as a result. The AP system, I think, works much better than mana because the game is about streamlining the combat experience to be engaging rather than limiting. It's very free form. It complements any type of build you might want to get for a character without having a mana resource be a limiting factor. It's a great feature, and I'm surprised it is not implemented into other JRPGs. Then we have the responsiveness of combat, and after just a few turns, you can see the influence of the recent Atlas JRPGs like Persona 5 and Metaphor on full display. The resemblance is uncanny. Each face button will take you into its own menu with a handful of options nested into each one. You won't be navigating massive skill lists or equipment menus. Expedition 33's main motive is to keep combat flowing, and it does it really well. Menus are fast and skills come out just as speedy, so combat doesn't feel like a slog. In fact, I was actively pursuing more encounters because it was so fun to strategize and play through once I got the dodge and parry systems down. Speaking of, let's get into the real-time aspect of combat, which is nothing new to JRPGs, but I feel like its implementation here is very strong. If you've played any JRPG that has reaction commands like Paper Mario, you'll feel right at home. During your attacks, you will have basic QuickTime events that you can hit in order to get the most out of your abilities. It's fairly basic, requiring you to hit the A button within a small window to maybe get an extra attack in or deal extra damage. I kind of wish there were more unique mechanics for each skill in the game, like how Paper Mario does it, for example, but this does the job in keeping combat fast-paced for the most part. When it's an enemy's turn, your options are to dodge, jump, or parry attacks, and these windows are pretty tight and take some getting used to. When I was first starting out, it felt like I should be parrying or dodging earlier in the attack than I actually should have been, like the attack telegraphs were off. But with time, I was able to master encounters with frame-perfect parries that felt great to pull off, because with every successful parry, the character being attacked is rewarded with an extra AP as well as a massively damaging counterattack. It rewards you twofold, speeding up the encounter by mastering enemy attacks as well as giving you access to more powerful moves earlier on in the encounter. In a word, it's fantastic. Easily a defining feature for the game. I decided to go through the preview on hard because I'm an experienced first JRPG head, so the early hour was spent with me going through trial and error over a handful of basic enemies. Thankfully, the game is very forgiving from a progression perspective, opting for a Souls-like checkpoint system that respawns enemies and refills your consumable items that you can earn more charges for over your journey. Even the autosave was an absolute bro, always spawning me right outside an encounter every time I fell in battle. Even if I died, I could always jump right back in, getting better at timing enemy attacks, getting dodge windows down, and so on. There are even plenty of optional encounters, giving me a lot of chances to test my skill, which I happily engaged with every chance I got because combat was a fantastic puzzle I wanted to solve any way I could. It was so fun, and I cannot wait to see what tools the final game gives me to destroy these monsters in new and fantastic ways. The game kept slowly unfurling in front of me, adding layers to play with in terms of leveling and loot and pictos and lumina. I loved seeing things that I know from other great JRPGs, but also giving them a spin to present them in a new context. There's this saying, a saying that still rings true to this day. Good artists copy, great artists steal. And that's what the developers behind Clair Obscur Expedition 33 do. They steal what other developers did and give it their own twist to make it a game that is easily one of the most fun JRPGs I've ever touched, despite being French. But when you consider how buddy-buddy both Japan and France are when it comes to influencing each other in terms of art and creation, everything becomes much more clear. This isn't really stealing. This is a small studio paying homage to a genre that is deeply influential. This is what art is supposed to be. It's the process of taking what we love and telling our own version of the same story using what we know best. But just as I was starting to see what was possible with the game's combat and storytelling, the preview was over and I wanted more. And I can't think of any better way to come away from a preview. I'd like to think I have a pretty good knack for knowing when a game has something special, and I think Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has that thing. It has the sauce. I know it's very presumptuous for me to say that. Maybe it's because of my naivete in covering new releases, but with all of my collective JRPG experience, I think this one is doing everything it needs to be a great game, and then some. If you are a JRPG head like me, you absolutely need to keep an eye on this game. And it's coming to Game Pass Day 1, so there's your chance. But if you're not a JRPG head, this could be the entry you were looking for to get into the genre. This could be your first turn-based JRPG, just like how mine was Final Fantasy III. I know for a lot of people, the anime-esque writing and the look of the average JRPG can turn people off. It's definitely not for everyone. I think this can be a great middle ground for people that love the gameplay, but hate the look that usually associates the genre. I can't wait to see what Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has in store for its full release. I'm ready to dive face first into the game, and I haven't been this excited for a JRPG release since Persona 5. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 hits shelves April 24th. I may cover it, I may not. It just so happened that the preview fell into my hands at the right time in between Avowed and Monster Hunter, so I figured I would check it out. But in the meantime, let me know what you think about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 in the comments section below. Are you excited for it? What sticks out about it that interests you? I'm really curious to see what people think because I don't think enough people are covering this game. Special thanks goes out to my channel members listed here, with super special thanks going out to my $3 channel member Cilantro. These fine folks help to keep me doing what I love by making videos like this for everyone to enjoy. If you would like to help support the channel as well, you can do so by clicking the join button down below next to the like and subscribe buttons. And as always, this has been Testing Triangles. Thanks for watching.